You have way more power than you think. You're just giving it away. And I'm going to show you how to get it back in this video. So there's a formula for how life goes, and it's called E plus R equals O. E is for the event, R is our response to it, and O is the outcome. The basic idea is that every outcome you experience in life, whether it is success or failure, wealth or poverty, health or illness, joy or frustration, is the result of how you have responded to an earlier event in your life. And I'm reading from Jack Canfield's The Success Principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be, because he's just the master at explaining this. So if you don't like the outcome you're currently getting, there are basically two choices. You can blame the event for your lack of results. So you can blame the E for the O. You can blame the economy, the weather, your lack of education, your parents, your environment, your partner, your kids, your boss, your neighbors, right? The list goes on and on. And no doubt, all of these factors exist and contribute, but they are not the deciding factor. If they were, there would be no Jackie Robinson. There would be no Barack Obama as president. There would be no Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There would be no airplanes. There would be no Amelia Earhart. The list goes on and on. No Denzel Washington, no Sidney Poitier, no Viktor Frankl writing Man's Search for Meaning in Auschwitz. I think you get the picture. Lots of people overcome these so-called limiting factors. So it can't be the limiting factor. People heal cancer, so it can't be the cancer, right? We stop ourselves. We think limiting beliefs. We defend our self-destructive habits. We ignore useful feedback. We engage in idle gossip. We eat unhealthy food. We spend more money than we make. We fail to tell the uncomfortable truth. We don't ask for what we want. And then we wonder why our lives don't work. You have a second option. You can instead simply change your response to the events. Change the R to the event E until you get the outcomes you want. Now life becomes a really fun experiment, right? You can change your thinking, change your communication, the pictures you hold in your head, the images of yourself in the world. You can change your behavior, the things that you do. Fortunately, many of us are so run by our habits that we never change our behavior. We get stuck in conditioned responses to our spouse, to our coworkers, to our kids, to the world at large. We are a bundle of conditioned reflexes that operate outside of our control. You have to regain control of your thoughts, your images, your dreams, your daydreams, and your behavior. Everything you think, say, and do needs to become intentional and aligned with your purpose, your values, and your goals. I'm going to say that part again. Everything you think, say, and do needs to become intentional and aligned with your purpose, your values, and your goal. And if you don't know what those are, I would pause this video and take some time for inner reflection and write them down. We actually all do know what we want. We know what we believe. We know what we think. We know what we value. It's just tucked under and it's quiet with the rest of the world being so loud, right? So take some time now and reflect upon that. What are my values, my goals, and my purpose? Because that's what's driving the bus, my friend. Okay. So let's look at one example of how, if you don't like your outcomes, change your responses. So he tells the story of being in LA when there was a terrible earthquake. And 2 days later, he watched a CNN reporter interview people commuting to work. The earthquake had damaged one of the main freeways, and so traffic was at a standstill. What was normally a 1 hour drive became a 2 or 3 hour drive. The reporter knocked on the window of one of the cars stuck in traffic and asked the driver how he was doing. He responded angrily, "I hate California. First there were fires, then floods, now an earthquake. No matter what time I leave in the morning, I'm going to be late for work. This sucks." Then the reporter knocked on the window of the car behind him. I feel like this is story time with Jen. Um, and asked him how he was doing. He said, "It's no problem. I left my house at 5 a.m. I don't think under the circumstances my boss can ask for any more than that. I have lots of music and my Spanish language lessons with me. I've got my cell phone. I have coffee in a thermos, my lunch. I even brought a book to read. So I'm fine." Now, if the earthquake or the traffic, the event, the E, were really the deciding factor, then everyone should have been angry, right? But everyone wasn't. It was their individual response to the traffic that gave them their particular outcome. I think that is amazing. I don't want you to feel like that is daunting. Like, that's incredible, the power that you have, because nobody is determining your response but you. Isn't that amazing? And if you take 100% responsibility, like I said in my first video on my channel, then you've got total liberation. I know we're kids, like responsibility is like, hey, who did this? And you're going to get in trouble. It is the opposite of as adults. Whoever takes responsibility wins because they have the power and the control to change it. And isn't that what we want? We want more power in our lives. We want more control over our lives. Everything you experience today is the result of the choices you've made in the past. So say the event is you're given a $400 bonus and you spend it on a night on the town with the friends. You're broke. Or you're given a $400 bonus, you invest it in a mutual fund, you have increased net worth. Same event, two different responses, two different outcomes. You have control over only three things in your life: the thoughts you think, the images you visualize, and the actions you take, your behavior. How you use these three things determines everything you experience. If you don't like what you are producing and experiencing, you have to change your responses. Change your negative thoughts to positive ones. Change what you daydream about. Change your habits. Maybe change your friends. Change what you read. Change who you follow on social media. Change how you talk to yourself and others. Insanity is defined as, this is what they call it in 12-step AA, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. If you want something different, then you have to do something different. There is no other way, my friend. And you don't want there to be another way. If you really need the economy to change, the environment to change, your boss to change, traffic to change, your doctor to change, your spouse, your kids, their teacher, do you see why you're frustrated? Because you have no power and control over anything outside of you. Try changing yourself and you realize how hard that is. And then you realize why it's really impossible to change anyone else. You thought the thoughts, you can change the thoughts. You feel the things, you can change the things. This is the power that you hold. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I've been using the power of my mind to transform my life and helping others do it too for 30 years. It started with me healing an incurable disease of Crohn's. I wrote a book about it called Gut Instincts. It's right here. And I know, and I've used it to heal psychological and physical things since then. You hold incredible power, and I am here to help you use it wisely. Oh, and if you want to do more of this together, well, click and subscribe. I drop a video at least every week, so I don't want you to miss anything. And I also have a free community. It's free for the first 100 members. It's called the Level Up Lounge, and it's where we use the power of our mind to work for us instead of against us. It's about a third of the way full, so jump on in. The link is in the first pinned comment. It's also in my channel description. And it's where we do this work side by side, which makes it way more effective and so much more fun. So if you really want to level up your life and change your O's, join me to learn how to change your R's. See you next time.